Imagine discovering that every friend who's ever disappeared from your life wasn't actually abandoning you. They were following an ancient spiritual script you never knew existed. What if these mysterious vanishing acts weren't random at all, but part of a profound spiritual initiation that's been happening right under your nose? The truth about why certain friends suddenly disappear might shake everything you believe about spiritual connections. But understanding it could transform every relationship in your life. Here's something crucial to understand before we begin. Friendship is one of the most sacred gifts of human existence. We're not meant to walk this spiritual path alone. The deepest transformations often happen through our connections with others, and authentic friendships can be powerful catalysts for growth. But there's a profound difference between friendships grounded in truth and those rooted in ego needs. Think about it. While some friendships seem to dissolve mysteriously, others grow stronger through every life challenge. What's the difference? What if certain friendships are disappearing, not because there's something wrong with you or them, but because they were built on foundations that were never meant to last? Take a moment and affirm with me, I am ready to see the truth beyond my ego's stories. I choose authentic understanding over comfortable illusions. Feel these words resonating in your heart as we explore this together. Today, we're diving deep into a hidden pattern that's affecting millions of awakening souls. This isn't about protection or raising your vibration. It's about something far more profound that the ego often masks as a need for energetic boundaries. What I'm about to share might challenge everything you've been taught about relationships, but this understanding could free you from one of the most sophisticated traps on the spiritual path. Let's start with something important. In some cases, your ego has been using friendships in ways you never imagined. Think about your closest relationships that ended, and you later realize that they weren't good for you. How many exist? Partly because they make you feel safe, validated, or normal. This isn't your fault. It's a natural human pattern. But understanding it is crucial for your spiritual evolution. Have you created elaborate stories after these friends vanished from your life? They must have found better friends. I must have done something wrong. They weren't really my friend after all. But here's the darker truth. These stories aren't really about your friends at all. They're about your ego's desperate attempt to maintain its carefully constructed identity. Every time a friend vanishes, it threatens this identity, and your ego goes into panic mode. There are three main ways your ego used these friendships as survival mechanisms, and recognizing these patterns can be deeply uncomfortable. The validation loop. If you allow it, your ego creates friendships that constantly validate your current self-image. These friends aren't bad people. They're playing a role your ego assigned them. When they stop playing this role, usually because you're outgrowing it, they seem to vanish. But the truth is, the friendship was built on validation rather than authentic connection. The security blanket. Some friendships exist primarily because they make you feel secure in your comfort zone. These friends unconsciously agree to keep you small, not out of malice, but because it serves both of your egos. When either person starts to outgrow this dynamic, the friendship mysteriously dissolves. The avoidance alliance. This is perhaps the darkest pattern. Friendships formed around what you're both trying to avoid. Maybe it's growth, responsibility, or facing uncomfortable truths. These friendships often dissolve when one person stops avoiding and starts embracing their authentic path. Think about friends who may share an unhealthy addiction. In this case, let's assume it's an unhealthy addiction to reckless romantic encounters. When one friend starts to kick this addiction and truly start confronting the important areas they've ignored, it's only natural that they will lose the friendship with one who has not yet made the same decision. To continue in their awakening, they must not allow the ego to pull them back to sharing in the addiction, simply for the validation of that friendship. To defeat the ego, they must have a greater sense of their why. In other words, you must pull and not push. Before friends physically vanish, the universe often sends subtle warnings that these ego-based attachments are ready to be released. Watch for these signs. Increasing emotional drain. When authentic conversations feel exhausting because you're maintaining an ego facade. Forced alignment. Having to dim your light or shrink your growth to maintain the friendship. Validation addiction. Noticing you need constant approval or agreement from certain friends to feel okay. Next, we'll explore why these patterns are actually a hidden blessing and how to transform them into authentic connections. But first, take a moment to honestly reflect. How many of your current friendships might be serving these ego patterns? If you found yourself recognizing these patterns, you're not alone. Share your insights in the comments below. What ego patterns are you starting to recognize in your friendships? Remember, this awareness isn't about judgment, it's about liberation. Your ego created these patterns to protect you, but now it's time for a deeper truth. What if I told you that the friends vanishing from your life aren't actually leaving? They're helping you break free from one of the most sophisticated traps of spiritual evolution. We explored how the ego creates elaborate stories about friendship endings. Now, we're diving even deeper into why these transitions are actually spiritual initiations in disguise. Take a moment and affirm with me. I trust the divine orchestration of my relationships. I release the need to control through fear or attachment. Let these words settle into your being as we continue our exploration. Think about it. How many times have you tried to consciously release unhealthy friendship patterns, only to find yourself recreating them with new people? This is because the ego is masterful at maintaining its comfort zone. Sometimes, only a divine disruption can break its spell. The sacred unraveling. When friends start vanishing, pay attention to these 3 levels of unraveling. Identity dissolution. The first level is the most uncomfortable. Your sense of who you are starts dissolving. This happens because your ego has wrapped part of your identity around these friendships. As they vanish, you're forced to face a profound question. Who am I without these relationships defining me? Security system breakdown. The second level feels like your emotional security system is malfunctioning. Suddenly, all the ways you used friendships to feel safe stop working. This isn't a malfunction. It's an upgrade. Your soul is creating space for authentic security that comes from within. Reality shift. The third level can feel like reality itself is shifting. Everything you thought you knew about relationships gets turned upside down. This disorientation is actually a sign that you're awakening from the ego's matrix of false security. Here's where it gets interesting. These vanishing acts are actually liberation in disguise. Each friend who departs takes with them a piece of your ego's control system. They're not really leaving you, they're helping set you free. This liberation happens in 3 waves. The validation liberation. As validation-based friends vanish, you're forced to find validation from within. This is uncomfortable at first, but it's actually your authentic self emerging. The security liberation. When security blanket friendships dissolve, you discover a deeper security that can't be shaken by external changes. This is your soul's natural state. The truth liberation. As avoidance-based friendships end, you're finally free to face and embrace your authentic path. The very things you were avoiding become doorways to your power. This process isn't just about losing friends, it's about spiritual rebirth. Each friendship that dissolves creates space for a profound awakening. Old pattern, seeking external validation. New reality, unshakable self-worth. Old pattern, depending on others for security. New reality, inner sovereignty. Old pattern, avoiding growth through social distraction. New reality, embracing evolution. Here's the most profound truth. These vanishing acts are actually soul contracts being fulfilled. Before incarnating, you and these friends agreed to this divine dance. They promised to play certain roles in your life and then exit at precisely the right moment to catalyze your awakening. This means every friend who vanishes is actually fulfilling their highest purpose in your life. They're not failing you, they're serving you in the most profound way possible. If you're experiencing friends vanishing from your life right now, you're not being abandoned, you're being initiated. Share in the comments. What parts of your ego's attachment system are you ready to release? What kind of authentic connections are you ready to create? Remember, every friendship that dissolves is creating space for a more authentic way of connecting. Trust the divine choreography of your awakening. Next, we'll explore how to create soul-aligned friendships that support your authentic evolution rather than your ego's survival mechanisms. Many spiritual teachers will tell you to just raise your vibration to attract aligned relationships, and there is much truth in this. But there's a darker truth we need to also face. Unless you understand the shadow side of spiritual connection, you'll keep recreating ego-based friendships in spiritual packaging. Today, we're diving into the revolutionary process of creating truly authentic connections. But I have to warn you, this might challenge everything you believe about relationships. The dark night of friendship. Before you can create authentic spiritual connections, you must go through a dark night of friendship, a period where you willingly face the void of true aloneness. This isn't about being physically alone. It's about experiencing who you are without any social mirrors reflecting back at you. Most people try to skip this crucial phase. They jump from one friendship group to another, searching for spiritual community without doing the shadow work first. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Until you can sit comfortably in the void, any new friendships you create will be built on the same ego patterns we discussed in parts 1 and 2. To create truly authentic connections, you must pass through 3 spiritual initiations. The initiation of solitude. This isn't about isolating yourself. It's about developing such a strong connection with your own essence that external validation becomes irrelevant. Signs you're ready for this initiation. You feel called to spend more time alone. Social interactions without substance feel increasingly superficial. You're noticing how often you seek approval. The initiation of truth. This phase challenges you to be radically honest about your motives for connection. Ask yourself, am I seeking friends to avoid something? Do I use spiritual language to mask ego needs? What parts of myself am I afraid to face alone? The initiation of sacred boundaries. This final initiation teaches you to create boundaries based on soul alignment rather than ego comfort. You learn to say no to connections that don't serve growth. Release guilt about outgrowing relationships. Trust your intuition about energetic alignment. The alchemy of authentic connection. Once you've passed through these initiations, something remarkable happens. You develop what ancient mystics called spiritual discernment. This isn't just about choosing better friends. It's about seeing the divine choreography in every connection. The 4 signs of soul-aligned friendship. Mutual growth catalyst. Authentic spiritual friendships challenge both people to expand. Unlike ego-based friendships that keep you comfortable, these connections celebrate each other's evolution. Welcome uncomfortable truths. Support individual paths without dependency. Transparent presence. There's no need to maintain a spiritual image or play any roles. These friendships allow complete authenticity without judgment. Space for both light and shadow. Natural ebb and flow without attachment. Divine timing, as referenced in our previous video. These connections aren't forced or maintained through effort. They appear at precise moments of spiritual significance, flow naturally, without manipulation. Respect, periods of solitude and integration. Soul recognition, beyond personality compatibility. These friendships are marked by instant soul recognition, mutual respect for each other's divine purpose, natural alignment without effort. The revolutionary practice. Here's where we turn this knowledge into transformation. I'm going to share a practice that challenges the common love and light approach to spiritual friendship. The shadow mirror practice. Sit in meditation, focusing on your most challenging friendship transitions. Ask yourself, what parts of my ego died with this friendship? Notice any resistance to being truly seen in your current relationships. Write down the patterns of validation seeking you're still carrying. Create a ceremony to release these patterns under the next dark moon. This practice isn't comfortable, but it's transformative. It helps you identify remaining ego attachments in friendships. Release the need for social validation. Prepare energetically for authentic connections. If you're ready to transform your approach to spiritual friendship, start with the shadow mirror practice tonight. Share your insights in the comments below. What patterns are you ready to release? What kind of authentic connections are you ready to create? Remember, true friendship isn't about accumulating connections. It's about allowing divine orchestration to bring exactly the right souls into your field at exactly the right time. Trust the process of becoming so authentic that only real connections can survive in your presence. If you're experiencing friendship transitions right now, remember, this isn't about loss, it's about expansion. Share in the comments, what greater version of yourself is emerging through these changes? Your story might help others understand their own journey of growth. For deeper insights into navigating spiritual awakening, check out the playlist linked in the video description. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay connected with our community of expanding souls. Remember, every step of growth adds to who you are. Trust that the universe is always guiding you toward connections that match your expanding light on your path to a better life.